Welcome back. We're talking with some of the Valley's newly elected state legislators, Assembly members Linda Halderman, David Valadao, and Kristin Olsen. I want to ask you, why did you decide to run for office? There seems like it's so difficult to run for office. You're in the public eye, long hours. Obviously, you're doing it because you want to accomplish something. What do you want to accomplish by the end of your term as a state assembly member?
I'd like life for people in my home in the Central Valley to be better. I'd like to help them get back to work. I think this is an important job, but it's also very important to remember that what we deal with as legislators is nowhere near as difficult as people are dealing with on the ground, who are looking for jobs, who are struggling in the private sector.
Is there a specific thing you'd like to see happen during your term that you'd like to spearhead?
First of all, I'd like us to look at regulatory reform and tort reform, and I've introduced several pieces of legislation that makes this a less litigiously unfair environment. I think that the courts should be reserved for people who really do deserve
Does any of that come from your experiences as a doctor?
Less so, I would say, because California does have one of the best malpractice policy in the nation that protects patients and then helps doctors. So ironically, in that one field,
one area,
that's not where we start.
So you want to replicate maybe that. Maybe that's
I think that's a great idea.
Dave, what would you like to accomplish?
Well, first, jobs. I mean, water goes along into that, so water is a big priority because I live in a big ag community and represent large ag properties. But regulation alongside of that. We've got farmers in our communities that are actually looking at investing in other states because it's easier to farm there and bring their fruits and vegetables back to our state and sell them here. And that's just not the way we should be looking. We've got to look at ways of growing crops and producing products, manufacturing. We've got plants in Hanford that have shut down over the years because we're no longer competitive. So obviously regulatory reform, water, just something that brings people and puts people back to work.
Kristin, what are your goals as a state legislator?
My top priority is reform. My legislative package this year focuses on government and budget reform, job creation, and local control. And when I leave the state legislature, I would be so happy if I could say that I had a part in making government more efficient, improving our education outcomes, and fostering economic growth. That's why I went there, and I'll be very happy if I'm able to achieve some of those things before I leave.
Okay, you know, Cal Forward is a group that's been looking at reforming government in California, and they've made a lot of proposals. One of the things they're talking about is maybe we should do away with term limits, maybe we should have a unicameral legislature, maybe we should have a rainy day fund. There are lots of ideas that are floating out there, not just by Cal Forward, but by other groups. Any thoughts on the kind of significant reforms we need to do in California to kind of make us the golden state again?
Yeah, you know, California Forward has done a lot of the hard work in the research on some of these reform issues. I'm actually carrying a 2-year budget planning bill, and they've done a lot of work on budgeting and 2-year budgets. I think the rainy day fund is critical. Unicameral legislature, I think that deserves some attention and some thought. Our Senate and our Assembly, there are no differences in the way people get elected, really. So we should take a look. Does it make sense to continue to have a bicameral legislature in California? So yes, we need to look at those.
Any major reforms you'd like to see happen? Big picture stuff.
Smaller government, less cost to the taxpayer. Obviously, unicameral House would be great. I mean, we've got to have
a part-time legislature.
Part-time would be great as well. There's no reason for us to make a living up there doing this. There should be less people up there and more at the local level, and it goes back to local control.
So major issue for you, Linda. What would you like to see happen in the big picture?
I couldn't agree more with David's idea, which is to shrink the size of government. But one thing I also want to bring to Sacramento is a civility that used to exist. I realize politics is a bloody business, but it can also be decent, and we can continue to talk with one another instead of just having partisan gridlock.
Well, thank you very much. I want to thank all of our guests, Assemblymember Linda Halderman, Assemblymember David Valadao, and Assemblymember Kristin Olsen for being with us. If you'd like to learn more about local politics, you can log on to our website, MaddieInstitute.org, to get the Maddie Daily and or listen to the Maddie Forum. This has been the Maddie Report. Thanks for joining us.